Diablo 3's Crusaders had such crunchy combat with their flails, their horses, and their bombardments. But my question is, what happened not just to the Crusader order, but the player character itself? In this video, we're going to take a lore-based approach as to where Diablo 3's Crusader is today. First off, a brief history on the Crusaders. Unlike the Paladins, the Crusaders were formed by a mid-level cleric named Akan inside of the Zakarum faith. Now, Akan believed that corruption was happening within the faith, especially in the higher leadership and the existing orders, including the Paladins. So he went outside of the faith and looked for light-bearing warriors that would form a new order called the Crusaders. These Crusaders, under Akan's direction, followed the final voyage of Akarat's pilgrimage, which was to the east of the Zakarum capital of Chaldeum into the swamplands known as Hawazar. And on this mission, they were expected to find, through Akarat's travels, potentially even his tomb, a way to clear the corruption from inside the church. Now, Akan was a lower level cleric, so he didn't have access to the information at the highest levels that Mephisto himself has corrupted the Zakarum order. Now, in Diablo 3, the canonical Crusader who ends up pivoting from the quest to the east in the swamplands to the west in Condurus to chase the falling star as a potential answer to clearing the corruption from the Zakarum church is a female Crusader named Johanna. That's right, it's not the square-jawed male Crusader that's the canonical character from Diablo 3, but actually the blonde shield maiden herself chasing down Diablo in heels. Now, one thing to know about the Crusader order is that each Crusader is assigned an initiate, and that initiate, when they come of age and then their Crusader either becomes deceased or retires, they pass down their armor to the initiate, and the initiate will then take on their name. Now, why is this something we care about? The reason why is because due to this information, we now know Johanna's fate in Diablo 4, and unfortunately, it is a grim one. Now, in Diablo 4, in the capital of Hawazar called Zarbinzet, we travel to a tavern there where we see a bunch of Crusaders in a squabble with one of its initiates, and that initiate is named Tomyris. Now, Tomyris is looking for her master's armor, and the location of her master, who she presumes to be deceased at this point, and the armor is over in an old Crusader fort called Mogan's Folly. Now, the Crusaders are in Diablo 4, and they made their home the swamps because that's where they believe Akarat's tomb is, and they continue to search for it in a way to uplift not only the corruption in the Zakarum church, but really the entire world at this point. Unfortunately, due to the number of battles and losses they've experienced, morale is extremely low in the Crusader order, and as such, they do not volunteer to help Tomyris to go and recover Johanna's armor. So you, as the Wanderer, then proceed to go on a side quest to help Tomyris find the location of Johanna and her armor. We do find this at the entrance to Mogan's Folly, and unfortunately, Johanna is not alive. We find her corpse, and we find her corpse stripped of her armor that Tomyris is meant to wear to carry on her legacy. Now, one important thing to note, if you zoom in on my gameplay footage here, you'll notice that this corpse of Johanna does not resemble the one we know from Diablo 3. So this most likely means that the Crusader we know from Diablo 3 is either deceased or retired and passed down her armor and name to her initiate that then died in Mogan's Folly. Now, keep in mind that in Diablo lore, Nephalem's lifespans can differ wildly. For example, you even see a Crusader in the tavern in Zarbinzet talking about being a Crusader for over 60 years, and she doesn't even seem that old. So it's completely possible that the player character Johanna from Diablo 3 is retired somewhere, but probably dead, unfortunately. Now, Tomiris goes on, and with your help, she does find Johanna's armor, she dons it herself, and she is now the new Johanna that represents the Crusader Order. That's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this type of content, please consider subscribing, liking, and leaving a comment with your thoughts. Thank you.